Welcome to the Viewless Wings Poetry Podcast, where we celebrate the craft of poetry. Each week, we feature interviews with incredible poets and artists, including Olivia Gatwood and A.E. Stallings, and original poetry read by the authors. I'm your host, James Moorhead, Poet Laureate of Dublin, California, and author of Canvas and Portraits of Red and Gray. This special episode of the Viewless Wings Poetry Podcast features the winners of the Scary Poetry Contest, reading their selected poems. Each poem is unique. These poems will haunt you, each eerie, beautiful, and timeless. Visit viewlesswings.com to learn more about these wonderful poets and to submit your poetry for possible inclusion in a future Viewless Wings Poetry Podcast episode.
My name is Jennifer DeBee. I'm a native Texan living in Ireland, studying Mary Shelley and Frankenstein and all sorts of fun dead things. And this is my poem about my hometown serial killer, Boogeyman, after the Texarkana Moonlight Murders, 1946. Shh. Never talk about the murders, all the people that were got, nor the way that we were failed by the rangers and the cops. Never talk about the man with the feed sack on his head. You'd know him if you saw him, and you'd likely end up dead. So don't talk about the park where he shot that couple straight, nor the house out in the bottoms where the woman got away. No, don't talk about the ranger sent from Austin City, how he failed us and he knew it, and the fallout wasn't pretty. Called himself the lone wolf, wouldn't leave till he were caught, then slipped out 8 months later when the manhunt turned up squat. But not the manhunt neither, the widest in the South, and the way it turned up nada, just some rumors and some doubts. Never talk about the year, dusty decades dead and gone, when our people locked their doors and they kept their porch lights on. Never talk about the murders, not a single whispered word. 'Cause he's out there, he's still waiting, and believe you me, he heard.
Hello, my name is Jessica Sabo, and I'm a former classical ballet dancer and writer whose work focuses on the intersection between mental illness, trauma, and sexuality. My poems and essays have appeared in publications by 805 Lit Plus Art, Inklet Magazine, and the Dead Mule School of Southern Literature, among others. I was selected as a finalist for the Adelaide Literary Award in Poetry in 2020, and I'm also the author of a chapbook entitled A Body of Impulse, which was published by Dancing Girl Press and Studio in the summer of 2021. I'm a West Coast transplant and a Virginian at heart, and I currently live in Las Vegas with my wife and my 2 rescue dogs, one of which has wings. This is my poem entitled Death March. The dead come to her in moonlight, wearing cobalt blue overalls, gold buttons skimming their hardened chests. A parade of whittled marrow men, their limbs tempt her to follow them below ground. She stands in black, milk-white skin swaddled in thick lace, heavy as the silence of earth packed before dawn. This is her color, dark earth. The moonlight men are the same when they visit their queen each night. Swaying jaws, hollow sockets, these bone-knocking servants listen to her speak of things that ward off eternal sleep. Silence, thick as grief. The way her hands don't fit together in her lap. Souls who hide behind comfort when the thunder claps. How easy it is to die with one's secret still intact. She confronts her men one by one, holds their lifeless bodies against her own, stains them with a kiss, moments before the cloud line disappears. Cloaked in darkness, they crumble at her feet, a pile of bone dust, worn cloth, weathered and wanton. They wait for her in the wind, in the bodies of willows whose shadows are claimed with the rise of the sun, waiting for the next time they are called to march.
Hi, my name is Rebecca Thrush. I work in property management in Massachusetts. My poetry has been published by a variety of journals, both in print and online, most notably by Line of Advance for their 2021 Write Award for poetry by a military family member. I also have artwork online with Decomp Journal. This is my poem, Maggie the Pious. My right eye was once blind, staring endlessly into the night sky. I waited for the magpies to feast upon the lifeless orb, cloudy as a summer storm. Instead, their talons sunk into the soft flesh of my shoulders, lifting me above. Hovering among these shadows of years past, a whispering chill began to freeze tiny drops of blood falling from their talons, like crimson snowflakes onto the starlit ground. And as each crystal melted into ruby rivers, the fluttering wings at my back called out. Who could you see if only you opened your eyes? Who was there when the stars came out? Who held your hand when you fell from right? Who will soak up the sanguine pools you've purged? Who? Who? And as their final call rang out in haunting harmony, the vibrations knocked free the strands from behind my eye. Now with soft feet on fallen ground, I could clearly see as each trilling thief flew out into the blackened sky.
Hi, my name is Morgan Liphart. My work has appeared in anthologies and journals across the United States and England, such as the University of Oxford's Literary Imagination, the Comstock Review, and Third Wednesday. My poem is titled What Happened in Room 210 of the Haunted Stanley Hotel. At the edge of the bed, I found a note. What have you done? What have I done by agreeing to sleep in this place? Though it's only for a respite from scratching my way through mountains on snowshoe trails. I rustle beneath my oversized t-shirt, now a slick of sweat beneath it. I can't stay. The pipes buzz and gurgle underneath 1909 plaster walls. A waterfall of laughter comes from the other side of the heavy oak door. I stand, then nudge my feet into snow boots as the planks whimper beneath my weight. I'm waiting, listening. The room is an empty cold, despite turning up the thermostat to 71, only to see it drop down again and again as if the room itself wanted no company. What happened here? I spill through my door, now out in the tender open of the scarlet-draped hallway. And there she is. There's the one I've been expecting. The scariest shadow reflected back at me in this slick face of a mirror. This is enough to run a jolt through my bones, because I know the thing most capable of hurting me, the master of my own suffering, is myself.
To close out this episode, I'm going to read a poem of mine that was recently included in the Wingless Dreamer anthology, The Book of Black. Ghosts of Bodie, California. I drove for hours to the Ghosts of Bodie through Sonora Pass by switchbacks, where the air starts to thin to an abandoned place I know you'd love if I could wake and bring you here. Sierra's wind lifted dust from gravel down a winding dead-end road, spitting rocks left in my wake. A chattering ride through grazing cattle past a graveyard marked with stone. They floated beside me on unpaved streets among rusted carcasses of mining gear. A deluxe Ford stripped, half sunk. The church, town bank, morgue, and outhouses scattered there and here. I peered through the grimy glass, wallpaper stained and draped in shreds, lit by sun through ceiling cracks, a single chair still and waiting. One miner's lamp ever on display, scattered trinkets rest suspended. Gold brought them here, 10,000 strong, rushing deep to chase rich veins while stamp mills crushed extracted ore, rising spent when whistles blew, black and worn, then to their homes. And as happens, time decays. One by one the settlers fled until the last home's lights went dim, just shadows left to roam and mourn. Thank you to all the poets who participated in this contest and shared their voice on this episode of the Viewless Wings Poetry Podcast. The Viewless Wings Poetry Podcast is written and produced by James Moorhead. You can follow me on Twitter at Dublin Ranch, subscribe to the Viewless Wings Poetry Podcast, and follow us on viewlesswings.com or on Instagram at Viewless Wings.